Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lain. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your garden host, Ken Lain.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And it's autumn. We're right here where the first frost is starting to come. Now, if you're a true gardener, you're getting into this, you're just starting. You need to know a couple things. One is, what's your last frost in the spring season? When do I start planting my summer plants? And that's in the Central Highlands area. That's going to be Sedona, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, Cordes Junction, Dewey, Prescott Valley, Paulden, Prescott, of course, all the way over the hill to Skull Valley, Kirkland. We're all kind of the same kind of zone. Yeah, it might vary by a couple days, but pretty much Mother's Day. Prescott, exactly with 100 years of data, is May 8th is our last frost date. You folks in Prescott Valley, that's, I think, May 9th or 10th. So it's like 2 days. You folks down in the Verde area, you get fooled because you're thinking, oh, I'm lower elevation, I'll be fine. I can start early. But that cold air spills over the ridge lines and settles down on top of you. So you get this inversion that happens. So really, you're maybe maybe you're a week earlier. Maybe it's May 1 or April 28th or whatever, but it's pretty much, yeah, you can start planting. Just be ready for a frost if it happens. And then the first frost of the year, that's when does that summer garden start to be taken out? And that's going to be in Prescott, Arizona. It's October 28th. 100 years of data. We've been tracking this. October 28th is traditionally the thing with averages. 50 of those years where it was well into November, and the other 50 it was like middle of October, but the average is the 28th. So just be ready. So if you've got tomatoes, you've got loaded up with fruit, you have some sheets ready. Be ready to harvest those, pick them off just in case. But we're right there. So it's fall colors everywhere. Although that has to do more with not cold in the evening. Your trees turning color has way more to do with day parts. How long is the day? And that's what makes a difference. That's what gets them to turn. So that they're used to working with the environment, just knowing when I should start. They don't want to be surprised. They want to go to bed. They're putting themselves to sleep, basically hibernating for the winter. Your perennials do that. Your flowers are hibernating underground. Some of them will take a lot of cold. They'll go right into fall, and they'll be, Bradford pear or ornamental pears. They don't turn color until December, Thanksgiving. So they're a month out yet. But some of your sumacs, they're almost done. So there's this progression, this wave of color that happens throughout the year, throughout the autumn season. I wrote an article this weekend. It was the language of houseplants, symbolism and spiritual meaning of houseplants. I thought I'd share a couple of those ideas. I just thought it was super interesting. Why people give houseplants as presents, as gifts, as housewarmings, as college graduations, as wedding, just why. And so I thought I'd go over a couple of them. Just super interesting. And all these are available at the garden center. We just loaded up with a bunch of houseplants. So as our outdoor gardens start to shut down, you can actually plant cool season things. So pansies love the cold. It's the time to put those in. Mums, they're beautiful. Snapdragons, they'll bloom to the end of the year. Maples, evergreens, all your evergreen shrubs, hedgerows, they're all put in now. But if you're done with tomatoes, you're going, I've been working so hard. I can't can anymore. Oh my goodness. The apples are about to be harvested. I can't pick another bushel of apples. If you want to come indoors, plant some houseplants, play with those. Chinese money plant. This is, it's a plant that's believed to bestow great wealth and fortune upon the owner, primarily because of its round coin-shaped leaves. So Chinese money plant, it's just fun. So if you want to have more wealth, surround yourself, put them in the office. Chinese money plants, their vibe will come off of you. Ivy has basically a plant. It symbolizes eternal life because it's evergreen evergreen foliage. The Christians think of it as it remains evergreen. So it's always perennial, coming to life. And so consider buying an ivy for someone that's kind of remind them to keep pushing forward, keep going. You can keep growing. That's an ivy plant. Dracaena or corn plant. That's one with the long stems. It can be cute, but it's eventually going to grow up into the size of corn. It gets quite tall. In fact, sometimes they get too big for a living room, even with vaulted ceilings. They can go to the top. But Dracaena is cleaning and purification. They're famous for their air purification. So the ancient Greeks, that's where the word Dracaena came from. Dracania, or female dragon, is the kind of how it translates from ancient Greek. Because of the red stems, and so they're describing that. So it represents dragon's blood. But the resin actually was used to cleanse or energy cleansing incense before spiritual celebration. So there's a lot of different uses. So this goes way thousands of years back. Philodendron, that's abundance, love, and good health. So that one that one will live actually a long time without even water. And so it just used a lot of room for forgiveness. And so it just goes, we'll just make it go. So it's a lesson in forgiveness and adaptation. So you give those, it's like an olive branch you give to someone that you might seek forgiveness from. So that's philodendron. Lucky bamboo, of course, that's one that's woven so many times. That's virtue and elegance. So that's what that represents. So good fortune, happiness, health, and strength. That's bamboo. Is very, very strong. Grows fast, but the bamboo stems are extremely strong. They're actually hard for pruners to even go through. And so that's a good one for lucky bamboo. Going off into a dorm room. It's a housewarming gift. We wish nothing but well for you. That's lucky bamboo. And palm trees. That's peace and abundance. And so the Christians, as Christ was coming into Jerusalem a week before, this is Palm Sunday, famous. They would throw palm branches in front of his donkey as he rode into Jerusalem. So it's just peace and abundance. It was symbolic. This goes way back even before Christ's time, but that's what it represented. And that's why they did that in the Bible times. And so Palm Sunday, there's the Egyptians see palms as tree of life. So it's got a lot of profound meaning. Orchids. There are lots of orchids out there. That's one with they grow in the rainforest up in the branches. They don't even need soil. And so they represent love, beauty, and luxury. So that's one. The Greeks actually, virility. They would give them to new couples. They put them in the bedrooms because it'd help you kind of have children, kind of thing. So it's kind of that's what it's for. So it's a great one to give to as a wedding gift. Couples that are trying to have kids, that kind of stuff. That's orchids. So love, beauty, and luxury. And the last one is peace lilies. So peace lilies are peace, positivity, purity, enlightenment. And so the Buddhists, Hindus, and the Japanese cultures, they love using this for enlightenment, for kind of purity. So feng shui, they use a lot of peace lilies in feng shui, kind of have the flow of the energy go through a house. And so that's one that's great to have. It's wisdom, tranquility. That's one that you want in your office. So take it to the law office or down in your downstairs study. You just want to have more that peaceful, or really big, thick, dark green foliage. And then peace lilies have that flower that comes up that has that white flower. It's so beautiful. It's fragrant, actually. So some of the meanings, you want to take a look at that. I'm sure it's up on our blog already. So watersgardencenter.com blog. It's right there. And then it's also published by the Daily Courier, Prescott News. God, it's all over the place. And if you're part of the Waters Garden Club, I make sure you get an early release, and I don't have the editors tweaking everything and taking things out, misspelling stuff. It's actually from my desktop to yours with the embedded links on more, where to buy them, where to shop for them, or you just come down to Waters Garden Center. I love talking houseplants with folks. That's it for this segment. Got a lot in store this show for you. Be right back after this.
Autumn is the most beautiful time of the year in the mountains, and Waters Garden Center has the brightest trees.
We've collected 700 hardy trees, including maple, aspen, ash, and oak.
Each is ready to plant, so you can enjoy brilliant fall foliage in your yard.
Shop online at top10trees.com or visit us in Prescott.
Trees are brighter at Waters Garden Center in Prescott and online at top10trees.com. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain and the Top 10 Gardener Podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
And we are back with Lisa Waters Lain in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are people talking about? There is a transition going on. Welcome, Lisa.
Oh, yeah. The trees are starting to turn.
Yeah. It's autumn.
Seeing some pretty fall color around. It's really nice.
Yeah. It's like it's summer, like 95. And then it's like fall. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't go right to winter. So
I don't think so. Good. It's pretty nice, but
yeah.
It's fun watching the fall color. A couple weeks ago, I was looking at our maple tree going, when is that going to start? Yeah. Noticed it this morning and it's definitely started.
It's definitely going. The ones in the front of the garden center are
they're beautiful color.
Gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, beautiful color right now.
Fall is the best time. I mean, spring, everyone likes spring. Gardeners love spring because they're planting in spring, but it's windy. And it's violently cold. And you're always worried about your plants. And this time of year, it's not windy. It's beautiful. It's like the best time of year. Winter is like stay inside, bake cookies. Summer is we should travel. We should go someplace. Where's the next cruise? Where are we going? So fall in the mountains of Arizona is the best.
I agree. It is pretty darn nice.
So what do you think? What's any good questions? Any
questions? Well, it is fall, but the aphids don't know that it's fall.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of problems with aphids right now. Yeah. A lot of it on yucca, the red yuccas. Yeah. A lot of roses are having aphid issues again. So Paula was asking, she's got it on her roses and her yuccas. Can she use the horticultural oil this time of year to treat for aphids?
So Paula, that is a great question. Now aphids. Now just if you folks driving across town and you're wondering now what was that again? What's an aphid? It's those green little bugs. They like cover the flower of a rose. They go up and down the flower stem, get down in there on the they like the flowers. And they get on there and they attack a plant by the hundreds. And so they can suck the life out of the plant. They actually pierce the plant's tissue, suck the juice out, and it just causes damage. You really don't want them. They love cool nights, bright days. That's their time. So they don't like summer. They don't like winter. They like spring and fall. This is their time. And they'll be with us through really the end of the year. And then by January, it's too cold. And they kind of hibernate underground, or I don't know what they do. They go somewhere. The question from Paula, though, is, can I use a horticultural oil to kill aphids? Absolutely. Now, here's a secret. Horticultural oil, you should not spray on plants when it's summer-like. So it doesn't, if it's under 90 degrees, go for it. And again, read the label. This is all on the label. But if it's under 90 degrees, you go for it. It's the safest, easiest, most effective bug killer you can have. So highly effective. And basically, unless Paula lives down in Phoenix, you're good to go up here. So yeah, go for it. Spray them. And what I would do is I'd come back and maybe 7-10 days, do it again, because aphids, there's so many of them. They're hard to kill, all of them. So you'll find some are left. So if you go back a second time in a week or so, it knocks them right out. That should get rid of all of your aphid problems.
I would check because I noticed a lot of times this time of year, they're not the aphid, there's something else. The big black brown ones that get on your spruce. They love spruce. They love pines, apple. Yeah. So even though you may it's a good time to walk out in that yard. Make
True.
sure you don't have those insects bugging you.
If
again.
you see a glossy rocks or glossiness underneath your plants or on the flowers, or the leaves look wet, but you know it hasn't rained, your irrigation hasn't run, that's aphid dew or aphid poo. So what we call it, honeydew is what it's actually named as. It's basically they're piercing the sap, pulling the sap out, digesting it, and then excrementing it out the back end, and it lights down on underneath, and so it leaves spots on your car, leaves spots on your driveway, leaves spots.
Yep.
You don't want aphids. Kill them.
Yep.
Horticulture oil is good.
Yeah. Next question is from Shelly. She said, you mentioned a product to help keep your blue spruce blue.
Okay.
She forgot to write it down.
Oh,
so
Shelley.
she wants to know the name of it, and she wants to know when it should be applied.
Yeah, good. So great. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Leave a rating, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. It helps us get ranked. But basically, it was aluminum sulfate. So plants pick up aluminum out of the soil, and they coat the green needles or the green foliage, and it turns it silver or turns it blue color. So you put it down when you're fertilizing. The most important feeding for aluminum sulfate, along with your 744 all-purpose plant food. Now, aluminum sulfate's not an actual food. It's an element. It's a naturally occurring thing that plants like, and they pick it up and go, gosh, I'm so beautiful when I've got aluminum all over my foliage. And so they feel more beautiful when you give them aluminum, but it's not the actual food. You want to actually feed them along with that mineral. So put your all-purpose plant food down anytime now. I would say before hard freeze is ideal. Both of them. So food and the aluminum sulfate. And then pray for rain and snow, and the plant will pick all that up as the seasons change. You'll see buds starting to grow, and it will use all that to elongate that new growth in March, April, really. And then it'll just be beautiful blue at that point. So timing is everything. You want to get it on before the new growth comes out in spring, which is April. I might even do it if you really want it. If you really want it pretty, oh my gosh, do it now and do it again. Like in that spring feeding, if you did it twice, you would have a showstopper of anything blue, junipers, blue, Deodar cedars, blue spruce, obviously,
Arizona
Vanderwolf
cypress.
pine, Arizona cypress, all of those would be spectacular. Like, whoa, how'd you pull that off? Well, let me tell you, I listened to these goofy gardeners on the radio, and they said, use aluminum sulfate.
So this brings up another question, because I've actually had a couple of customers in this week going, where's your winterizer fertilizer?
Oh,
so a lot of people from other parts of the country have moved here, and they're looking for a winterizer fertilizer, and we don't have that. Do you want to give a short blurb?
Winterizers, they've got, fertilizers are complicated, but not really. Let me just simplify this for you. So that's a synthetic fertilizer. So you're using a different ammonium nitrate. That's what they make bombs out of. That's an ammonium nitrate mixture of synthetic fertilizer. And so you switch it up so the plants can absorb that through a cold climate. In the summer, they don't pick up that. They pick up sulfates, not nitrates. And so it kind of changes. So they'll change up the formula. If you're using organic fertilizer, and you should, we encourage that. In fact, that's all we sell here at Waters Garden Center. We want to move people over to organics because it's safer. We're all drinking groundwater in the mountains of Arizona. We don't want those chemicals to be in the water basins, in your well. And so we've put two blends together that are all organic. The beauty with organics are they break down much slower over a longer period of time, and plants digest or absorb all of that chemical, all of the organics. Chemicals, many of those flush out, and half of it's not even used. It just dissipates, or the plant can't get to it, or a heavy rain will flush it downstream. It's just, we need to be using organics. I'm a strong believer. We're on our soapbox a little bit, but that's the difference. When you hear winterizers, those are synthetic fertilizers. So basically variations of petroleum products. Or organics, we're using cottonseed meal and bird guano and sulfur and iron and some other stuff that just plants like better, especially where we have not a lot of food in our soils. We just don't have a rich soil. We don't have topsoil. And so plants prefer a much longer, slower released organic, and it feeds not just the plants. An organic will feed the worms, the mycorrhizal colonies. It feeds the soil and the plant, whereas synthetic fertilizers, they burn things in the soil. I mean, worms hate. They really dislike chemicals. They'll run away because it's burning them in the soil. So you're better off using organics. It will attract more wildlife, living, breathing organisms that plants need to symbiotically work with. I'm going too deep into this. It's really a good thing. Organics are better. Use organics. 744 all-purpose plant food, aluminum sulfate. There we go. We are out of time, just like that. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. Be right back.
Feed your plants now for bigger, brighter, better fruit in spring.
Water's 644 fruit tree food is safely organic with added calcium for sweeter fruit quality.
Far safer for your pets and birds than those chemical fertilizers the box store sells.
And it's kinder on the environment, too.
Simply sprinkle on the soil and water it in.
Bigger, brighter, and better fruits in spring.
Get yours today at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Natural, safe, organic.
You're listening to Ken Lain, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Garden Show with garden expert Ken Lain. Join the conversation daily as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Or visit face-to-face throughout the week where he can be found at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So we're coming down to fertilizer. I've been talking fertilizer, plant food. Plant food is so important. I cannot emphasize that enough. So my entire yard's been fertilized. Got that done. Got a few other minerals, just making things happy. Things are shutting down. And as plants turn color, as the days get shorter, they put on these tremendous roots underneath them. So they'll root out through, well into December. It's actually quite amazing. Even without foliage, there's still stuff going on. The sap is still flowing in trees. They are not truly shut down. And so it's a good time to encourage more root growth, and you fertilize that. And they're going to use that food for next spring's growth. That's why it's so incredibly important. Anything that blooms in the spring, lilacs, forsythia, rhododendron, azaleas, fruit trees, roses, you really do need to fertilize now. But the tidbit, the insider tip that I want to give you now for my gardens, there's 2 things I just despise about gardening. It's just the bane of everything that I stand for. The part of the reason I share so much over the airwaves is I don't like watering. That's why we created computers just to run irrigation valves. And so I've got like 8 valves. They're all run by computers. They're satellite driven. They're interactive with the environment. I've got moisture sensors. It's very sophisticated because I don't want to take a hose out there and water anything. And so I've got computers running that for me. It's pretty slick. I can control it from my phone. It's very slick. The other one that just drives me crazy, it turns everything into work. Weeds. I really despise weeds. Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and the first thing that came up were weeds. This makes gardening frustrating. And so I do some things now that prevents weeds. There's basically 2 main kinds of weeds we grow up here in the mountains of Arizona. There's winter weeds or cool season weeds. Actually, there's cool season plants that we have. You're planting pansies right now because they're colorful. They're one of the few flowers that will actually grow in the cold. There's some weeds that are just like that. So when the pansies grow, the dandelions, they grow too. The foxtail, they grow. And so there's some of the most insidious weeds because they're hard to kill. It's winter. So the The usual weed sprays that you use are ineffective. They just don't work. So you're forced to pulling them up by hand. That's work. I'm not going to be doing that. And so what I do is I put down a weed and grass stopper. There's a seed killer that keeps them from coming up. And so I'll put that down now because I know dandelions, they're already starting. The foxtail is right behind them. Foxtail is the one that's just beautiful, lush, soft grass. Then the burr comes up, and that's the one where your dogs, it gets into your socks and it wants to go through your socks, through your ankle, come out the other side. It's got a terrible, insidious weed. Dogs will limp around. It just gets them in their nostrils. It's dangerous for pets. You don't want foxtail, but it's an annual. That particular weed only comes back by seed. So if you can keep the seed from germinating, you can prevent 98% of all your weeds. The rest you can hoe or weed or whatever. So I actually don't have hardly any of them. And so I'm putting down when I fertilize, while I get my hand spreader out there, I'm getting a bag of weed and grass stopper. So it's a weed preventer. I'm spreading that at the same time, right over where the grass was. I'm putting that down. Where the rock lawn is, I'm putting that over the rock lawn, because weeds come up in between the fabric, and there's all that silt layer underneath the rock and between the weed fabric. Well, weeds still come up. That's irritating. Weed and grass stopper keeps that all from happening. And it doesn't affect your plants that are already up. So you can put it right around your rose bushes. You can put it through your flower beds, over your lawn, and it will keep those dandelions, keep the winter weeds out of the garden. Highly, highly effective. So you need water to activate it. It's granular, so you spread it. You need water to activate it within 30 days, or you just hose it down, whatever. And usually a bag will cover, I think, 5,000 or 7,200 square feet, one of those two. It's very affordable. And boy, does it take the pressure off of all the gardening. The second time I put that down, so I said there's two types of weeds, winter weeds, and there are summer weeds. The summer weeds show up right the monsoon season. So that rain that happens the end of June, July, that's what activates all your horehound. The tumbleweeds become this huge. The goat head, that's the one that's got this real beautiful ground cover. And if you pull up this ground cover, there's like 1,000 burrs, not maybe 1,000, hundreds of burrs underneath this. Your dogs walk on it and they limp around. Those are all annuals. If you put down weed and grass stopper now, and again in the end of June, you're going to eliminate, 98% of all weeding is going to be gone. It's worth every dime. It's not that expensive. It goes a long ways, but boy, does it take the back-breaking work out of weeding. But it's all about timing. It doesn't affect plants that are already up. So weeds already up, not going to affect it. Tiny ones, but not the bigger ones. You have to put it on before the weeds show up. You got to be proactive. So you got to know when to put it on. That's why you're tuned into the Mountain Gardener. So you know this kind of stuff. So now you're pro on how to keep weeds out of your yard. Be right back after this.
Water's October companion plants that grow well together are blaze maples, spicy mums, glamour kale, and burning bush.
Water's compact burning bush is a neat, well-behaved shrub prized for its blazing red foliage in the fall.
Looks great when planted with autumn gold sumacs, lilacs, and gold euonymus.
At 6 foot, this bush makes a natural hedge that burns red through autumn, all for $49.
You'll find the showiest shrubs here at Water's Garden Center.
Siri, give me directions to Water's Garden Center. The Top 10 Gardener, your source for timely garden advice, seasonally correct for the garden, guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
And we have my favorite gal back in the studio. Each week I get to spend at least 20 minutes with this gal behind these microphones talking about local gardening. So Lisa Waters Lain, welcome back to the studio.
Thank you.
And so you've been super busy. The garden center is like, folks, we decided to to completely remodel the entire store. It's just like everything is in disruption. So we're moving the outside in, the inside out. It's just kind of like, ooh, lots of paint everywhere.
Yeah.
It must be. I've got a brand new, young, energetic, visionary team that we're putting together that have been with us. I mean, I got like the dynamic, not trio, not quattro. It's like fives of them. What is that? Quattro. Dynamic quattro. And man, they want to change the world. It's exciting. And they're dealing with plants. They just love, it's like younger folks love plants. They're just a thing. I mean, we like plants, but we also like motorcycles and boats. And
I think they do too.
They're really into it. It's fun to watch.
It is. It's a good thing.
And they're into retail. So we're showing them retail, and retail kind of lost some of its sex appeal when Amazon, all the box stores came on. But you know what? The specialty, boutique, unusual, different things around plants, that's a very appealing career that we've created here at Waters Garden Center that I think might be unique for us. We're not having trouble finding great, talented people, but we treat people well, we pay well, we respect I think part of it is just empowering and listening and just going, hey, that's a great idea. Let's try that. Anyway, go on and on. Welcome to the studio, Lisa.
You obviously haven't gotten enough words out today.
I need to talk. Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. Spreadsheets. They're fun, but you don't get any words in, just numbers and percentages.
That is true. So I'm talking about something completely different, but I was walking by the lower house, perennial house, and I happened to see this pretty little mum. And I thought, that is gorgeous. Yeah. It's called a La Belle Bronze Bicolor. And it's just so pretty.
It looks like an echinacea. If you're looking at this on Spotify or the video piece, YouTube, that looks just like an echinacea or an echinacea, not a mum. The flower is bigger and bitone. That's wild.
It's just really pretty. So I thought I got to show one of those just for the heck of it.
Now, this has got a bigger flower than normal. So this is a garden mum. So it's got bigger flowers than, let's say, a florist or greenhouse grown mum. We're growing these in, out where they're used to water and sun. And they're not going to vaporize, and it's perennial. It's going to do this for years to come. That's crazy. What's that? Red or burgundy with a yellow bronze. Okay, I'm a man. Bronze is not a color in the crayon box.
Fine.
But red or burgundy is. And then it's got this gold
tips
and this fuchsia green inside. It's like it needs googly eyes. It's like it'd be looking at you.
Anyway,
just super cool.
Caught my eye as I was walking through, and I thought I got to show that. But yeah, we have lots of really pretty mums still, and we have lots of pansies, lots of violas, snapdragons, and now it's time, folks. Rip out those petunias, rip out the geraniums. You want to give those plants time to root out in your pots before the real cold comes. So now is the time to do that.
Yeah, I tell you that some of these new plants. Here's the difference between a independent or boutique garden center, small independent mom and pop garden centers probably goes across the board, or a box store. That's probably goes for chain restaurants or unique. The chef is also the owner of the place. We get bored and we want to try something new and different. We're not just going to grow the top 10, plants. We want to go. We put our kids through college on those plants. Now what? When we are looking for funky, fun, different, unusual, and we like to share that with people that like us. Yeah. So anyway.
So speaking of that, nice segue. You did a good job, dear.
Welcome.
So we've been getting a lot of our evergreens in. So this is the product mix that we carry through the winter. Yeah. And now is a really good time to be putting. It's still a great time to plant. It's peak season. Better than peak. Yeah, it's just beautiful time to plant. And we've gotten some different things in than we've carried in the past. And I was kind of checking all those out. And you actually brought one home and planted it at our place. Was the Korean fir. Yeah. So it's a nice little kind of ball fir. Mm-hmm. It looks really pretty. I didn't even know we really had them until I saw you
Oops,
brought
there's one
one.
in the front yard. Where'd
I'm
that
like,
come
what is
from?
that? What is it doing here? Oh, lost my mind.
I saw one and
But-
went, we gotta try that. It's related to
Yeah.
our conicolor fir, the one that grows up on Spruce Mountain, which is a very large fir.
Mhm.
This is a cousin of that, but it stays cute and bite size and little. It's like a
Mhm.
poodle or something.
So you put ours kind of underneath a great big maple.
Yeah.
Do you think they need some shade
Nah,
here?
I
Or
just
is
put
it
it there
just where you
'cause
put it because it was
that's
a
where
good
I
space?
wanted it.
There was
It's
a
also-
hole already there.
It's also on the south side. I had irrigation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just go for ease,
Mhm.
and it'll get plenty. If it gets
Really
6 hours or
pretty.
more of sun, it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Has kind of a silvery blue foliage to
Yeah.
it. Really, really pretty, but
Yeah.
cool to kind of check
Almost
out
looks
if you
like a
like different things.
snowball or something.
Yeah,
Like,
it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
really cool. We also got a few Tannenbaum mugo pines
those
in,
are neat.
which I think are really cool. So it's a mugo. It's in the mugo pine family, but it does more of the pyramidal form, so
Yeah.
more like a Christmas tree form. Just a real pretty. Not going to get huge. I think 8 feet. I
Very
wanna
small.
say.
Yeah. Most mugos are rounded or ball
Right.
shaped, but this one's got a Christmas tree look to it.
Yeah.
It's very tight.
It's really
fit, very
cool.
good with that still rich green, easy to care for,
Mhm.
evergreen pine look,
Right.
but it doesn't get gigantic
Yeah.
like Austrians and some of these Oregon greens get
Mhm.
huge. Ponderosas, oh my gosh.
Which we did get some ponderosas in too. I'll
They're
mention that
stunning.
real quick because that's
Yeah.
not one we just carry all the time.
Yeah.
And they are little growers sometimes don't like to grow the ponderosas. They can be a
Yeah.
little bit finicky, but we got some nice ones in.
They're hard to find pretty ones.
Yeah.
And if they're not pretty, we don't want them. So we go
They can
tour,
be
we
kinda
found a block
rangy.
of them and went,
Yeah.
those are nice. And we'll
Mhm.
take the whole row.
Yeah.
And we brought them in.
Yeah. We also got in, it's the first time I've seen this, is a golden Atlas cedar.
Yeah.
So most people are used to the blue Atlas cedars. Nice tree for here, does very well. The golden doesn't get quite as large, so good for those smaller yards, but it has a real pretty, the new growth is kind of a more of a golden tinge to it. So
Yeah.
it's just very different.
It reminds me of a honey locust or golden locust,
Mm.
which is famous here. It's locust tree. The new growth comes out gold and then it just turns green. And so
Yeah.
it's a beautiful plant for that. But
Mhm.
this is the evergreen version of the honey locust.
Yeah.
Great plant.
Mhm. So a couple other things that we got in, they're a little different. So we got some blue star junipers and some prostrate cedar, but we got them on a standard.
Tree
So
form.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's actually a little more, they have to graft them on,
Yeah.
right, to a tree form. So they're just great in containers. They would look
Yeah.
really cool in containers on your patio. And it's just something different that not everybody's going to
Yeah.
have in their yard. I have a great big Japanese pine in a
Yeah,
pot, and
right.
it does terrific, and it's
Been
beautiful
there for
in the
years.
pot.
We
Yeah.
put one of those stars that's grafted on this basically trunk.
Mhm.
So it's Dr. Seuss looking, not really, but it looks
Pretty,
like a
yeah.
mini tree.
Mhm.
We put it on the backside of the pond. And so I didn't want a ground covery thing. I didn't want something big. So this is
Right.
perfect. It was a small thing that's taller. There's a way to design with those,
Mhm.
but they're very unusual because you'll be one of the only people that has that particular tree because it's
Different.
not natural. It's man-made.
Mhm. So really cool. So we also got in a new shipment of Austrian pines in, Deodar cedars. Some really pretty Oregon green pines. I love Oregon green pines.
Yeah, it's a pretty
We need
rich
one
green.
in our yard. We don't have one yet,
Oh,
but we
okay.
need.
That's a big hole.
I have no idea where we'd put it, but I think we need it. We did get some more blue Atlas cedars in that are real pretty. And also, I just want to let people know because they sometimes are hard to find. We did get some manzanitas in.
Yeah.
We got Panchito and Chieftain and the Kinnikinnick in. And now would be a great time to be getting those in the ground.
I just found some bristlecone pines, which is the
Ooh,
oldest
haven't
living
had those
organism.
in years.
I found some up in Oregon. A friend of mine's growing them.
Wow.
And I went, ooh, save me 20 of those. I want those next spring. They're not here now. We'll bring them in next spring. But bristlecones are a great drought hardy native kind of pine
And
tree.
we have not
that
been
grows
able
here.
to find those in a long
Yeah.
time.
Well,
That's
I
great.
wish we'd keep going. We will be back after this.
Water's October companion plants that grow well together are blaze maples, burning bush, Arizona creeper, glamour kale, and spicy mum.
Water's spicy mums are best sellers for super long bloom times and local garden tuck.
Spicy mums glow yellow with a halo of fiery orange around each daisy flower.
These big, bold perennials are perfectly shaped and add color in autumn when few flowers are in peak bloom.
You'll find bright fall flowers here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Additional shows of this podcast, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook, Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lain. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So the fall colored trees, there's a rotation that's happening right now going through. It starts with kind of maples and aspens. They start turning in September through October. Then as we reach November, we're starting to see those fading out. The ash trees, there's this real pretty purple tree. It's got a narrower, smaller leaf than a maple does. Maple's got a leaf the size of your hand, maybe a little bit smaller, but it's got the 3 to 5 prongs on it. It's a classic maple leaf. Ash has a row of leaves that are much smaller, which actually is a reason they're so drought hardy. So there's a native ash, Arizona ash, and Modesto ash. That's one that grows over in California, over towards New Mexico. So ash is very robust. The native ones are a little shorter, so they get maybe 20 feet tall. The Raywood ash, which is the one that sells the most because of that purple, just rich purple color, that one gets up, it's a shade tree. I mean, we're talking 35, 40 feet. There's some beautiful, beautiful Raywood ash. But the ones that are turning purple right now, that's what you're seeing, Raywood ash. It's got a kind of a real pretty, kind of handsome round shape to it. It's very groomed without any pruning. It just is naturally a tidy tree. The leaves are smaller, so they just kind of blow away. Whereas sycamores, I don't like sycamore for fall color just because, well, they go from green to brown most years. If you get a nice gentle slide into fall, well, maybe they turn gold, but yeah, they go to brown and the leaves hang on forever. I much prefer maples. They have a little bit smaller leaf, but bright red, and they always consistent every year, bright red. And then they drop their leaves so they don't hang on to the foliage. Some plants, they hang on too long to their foliage. They should have been gone. They wait till snow comes in January and finally they start to lose. And the other thing with sycamores, I've got sycamores for sale. I'm not putting them down. I'd like to still sell some, but they have the little dingle balls come down. They're dropping seed pods down. They're kind of a messy tree. I would much prefer a Blaze or Prescott Blaze maple. They grow all throughout basically the region. They'll grow in Sedona. They'll grow just as well in Skull Valley, Baghdad, Kirkland. They'll grow up towards Paulden, Chino Valley. Of course, the ranch at 69 Corridor. You all are famous for your maples. Oh my gosh, there's so many out there. The ranch just out by the mall in Prescott. You're required to have some maples out there because they wanted that red smattering everywhere, and it is striking. After that, the other one that's turning or getting done, it's in full color right now, it's basically gold with a tinge of color, bright, like aspen gold, locust. So anytime you hear the word locust, you know you're going to have a good tree. So it's very drought hardy, very deep rooted, very solid roots. They find the water around. They just can go through drought like no other. They're very fine. The leaves are very delicate, almost like a fern, almost a silk tassel tree or mimosa. It's the same way. So they kind of look very similar. Golden locusts. We've bred a certain type of locust. It's a shade tree. It gets up 35 feet by probably 20 feet wide, kind of an umbrella kind of shape to it. But the beauty with that locust is they've got small leaves, so when they get done dropping their leaves, they just blow away. I don't know where they go, but they're like self-cleaning. They self-raking throughout the yard. They're pretty awesome. And then they're just drought hardy. We've bred this one because the new growth is gold, that's the name golden locust, and we got rid of the bean pod. So locusts, your grandparents grew locusts and the great big old bean pods that would hang down summer through fall. They don't have those. And so we bred all of that out so it doesn't form a bean pod, yet the flowers, the new growth is gold. It turns to green in the summer, then it turns gold again in the fall, and then it's just got this great shape to it. That's one that's been in color for 2-3 weeks, probably another 2-3 weeks, and it'll be, again, deciduous, lose its foliage when it's all done. But a good tree for here. It takes our wind. Even you folks up on the ridge lines, where you've got the vistas. It's beautiful up there, but boy, there's no soil. You got nothing but rocks, and it's brutal wind. And so it'll take that, no problem. It just and thrive. It won't just take it. It'll thrive in that kind of environment. So locusts are good trees for here. I'd say ash, another good tree, because there's a native variety of ash that are cousins. That entire family is very robust because the roots are so deep. And they're famous for their fall color. The native one turns gold. So kind of an aspen gold again. So the Arizona ash is kind of I wouldn't say it's a great fall color, but it's got color. Aspens, they've got color, but we have so much native gold already. The wild elm tree that's out there. They've got gold color. They're kind of a trashy tree, but I wouldn't plant an elm, a native one in my yard. There's some new variations that are very pretty. They turn red. They don't have the bug issues. So there's some really strong trees we're introducing that we've developed better varieties that adapt better in our wind or soil and our alkaline heavy clay, basically. I mean, when we're developing a tree, so when we have a tree here at the garden center, it is always grafted. That is, we're taking a cutting from like the perfect specimen. We'll see the perfect Bradford pear. Go, oh, that's really pretty. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. We'll take a cutting off of that, and then we graft it onto a type of rootstock that adapts to clay soil. So we're picking the rootstock. Now what we have is an exact clone of that perfect plant, the absolute perfect spruce tree or perfect apple tree or perfect whatever the tree is. All of our trees here at Waters Garden Center we don't start them by seed. We're starting them by cuttings, by grafting. So we can adapt a very hardy rootstock that will grow better here. And then we're getting this perfect clone. I mean, there's some trees that are prettier than others. I would never dream of starting trees by seed because you get this riffraff. You get 100 trees. There's 3 of them that look awesome. The other 97 look terrible. They're mangy looking. They're ugly. They're dog-legged. They're thin. They're wispy. They're tall. They're skinny. They're short and fat. They're just like people. They're all over the place. If you're putting a tree, especially in your yard, you really want to handpick those, and you really want a beautiful one. I mean, you want a movie star out there. You just want to take pictures with her, and she just looks good. And the bigger she gets, the more beautiful it is in the yard. That's a good tree. So there's different grades. So a lot of your contractors, their bid price. If you're just getting bid price, you're going to get a seed-grown tree. That is just, you'll never know what you're going to get. And once a tree is ugly, it doesn't get prettier. It just gets more hideous looking. It gets more mangy looking. So something to look at. Oh, we were back on, sorry, I went off on my tangent. So these are things people go, oh, Waters Gardens are a little bit more expensive, but boy, their plants always live. That's the reason. We're hand picking them and we're getting a better quality rootstock. And we're taking the time to graft. You got to hold on to a tree 3 more years. Have a grafted tree. So but when you get it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's perfect layering. You just look at it and you go, that's a good looking tree. That's why. Some other stuff we do. But anyway, fall colored. Maples we mentioned, ash. Oh, we have to go over native. So you folks up in Groom Creek and all the Highland Pines, all the ridgelines, Williams, you all are famous for your oaks. Oaks are so robust. They live forever. So if you're doing a memorial tree, oaks are the way to go because they're going to outlive you, your grandkids, your great grandkids. This thing's going to be here forever. So hundreds and hundreds of years. That's an oak tree. They're methodical. They're solid. They're strong. They take the wind. They got the beautiful oak leaf to it. And they turn red in the fall of the year. All of them. turn red in the fall of the year. So they're just a good, strong tree. Oaks, they take our wind too. There's something about the leaf. It's got that serrated edge to it. It's got that classic oak leaf to it. It lets the wind go through it without tearing up the leaves. So many of these bigger leafed types of trees, they get torn up by the wind until they're old enough, big enough. Not oaks, all the oaks. And you don't have to go with a giant like Texas oak. They've got smaller, kind of narrower oaks that can even go in some of the smaller lots out by the airport, and some of the newer lots they just don't have the room. An oak is a very good choice for that. Anyway, that's the fall trees you can plant now for years of beauty to come. Right back after that.
Prescott Blaze maple is the fastest local tree with brilliant red foliage.
Prescott Blaze maples grow 3 feet each year. That's fast.
Prescott Blaze maples are perfect for patios or any place a shade tree is needed.
We have a limited number of huge, instant Prescott Blaze maples, but the $249 size is exceptionally nice.
The maples are brighter in Prescott at Waters Garden Center.
Or shop online at top10trees.com.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Thanks for tuning in to the Top 10 Garden Show. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
As we wrap things up, let me just wish you and yours a spooky Halloween, a fun Halloween, a safe Halloween. So it's a good time to be out in the gardens. Just the leaves are out there, pile them up, have the kids jump in them. Our dogs actually like to play in piles of leaves. It's just funny to watch. Oh my gosh. So it's a good time. Now, leaves, that's gold. As things drop on the ground, you want to collect those. And what I'll do is I've got some leaves that are quite large. So some of your bigger, like maple leaves, I'll take my lawnmower and kind of chop them up some, and then I compost them. Some of the others, this is like black gold for your gardens. What the book says is you should insulate your gardens with compost or leaves or something, a 2 to 3 inch layer over top of your flower beds or around your roses or over the gardens, insulates them so that the ground will not freeze and heave. So as we get closer to the end of the year, we're cold at night, but we're warm during the day. It's beautiful during the day. We're walking around with just maybe a vest on. It's beautiful. But at night it gets cold. And so that freeze thaw causes heaving or cracking or getting a real light, fluffy garden soil. Well, that breaks some of your roots that are in the ground. So if you put a 2 to 3 inch layer on top of your gardens, it eliminates that garden heaving. It takes you right through winter. So I can never get enough leaves to do any real good. So I wish I had more, but I don't. And so I'll take a bag of Waters premium mulch. We've screened this down. It's actually mocha looking compost that's screened down to 1/4 inch minus. So it's fine. So you put it over top of there. It's not going to cause any type of root rot or crown rot. It's just nothing but good. And then I'll go ahead and rake that in. It works its way into the soils through winter, but it keeps the soil from heaving. Again, the book says 2 to 3 inch layer over the gardens in the fall. It makes the plants, it helps the plants get through winter much stronger. It'll also, because you're going to start powering down your irrigation next month, which is like 3 days away. And so you still need to water things. We have long dry spells through winter here in the mountains of Arizona. It could be, even though they say it's supposed to be wetter winter because of El Nino, whatever. All I know is don't believe the weatherman. They've never been right when I've seen them. But last year they said it'd be drier than normal. And look how much snow and rain we had. Oh my gosh. This year they're saying it's supposed to be wetter than normal, which means it'll probably be dry as can be. So, but that layer of extra layer insulates the soil so it doesn't dry out as fast. Keeps the weeds out so they don't take some of the moisture and nutrients out. And so we've got a garden class coming up. This is the last one of this year. It's going to be showy shrubs of autumn. I'm going to show them off, show what they are, what they look like, how to plant them. Should be fun. Plus, you get to hang out with some really cool people. They're called gardeners. We like funky hats and bright gloves and funky boots, and we like just hanging out and sipping, watching a sunset with a glass of tea, having friends over for a glass of wine. That's a gardener. We just hang out together and talk gardening for an hour. So Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning, no matter the weather, we've got it in the back greenhouse. We can control the wetness, the dryness, the rain, the wind. It's just fun to hang out. But that'll be over the shrubs that you can plant right now in the autumn of the year. You'll be able to know what's the best one. And we've got some great resources that'll help you get you a list of here's our planting guide. Here's the list of the top 10 and more. So throughout the week, Lisa and I camp out here at Waters Garden Center, and we do truly enjoy. One of the things when I get stressed out, I go talk to gardeners. Look, talking to you as well.
Waters companion plants that grow well together are blaze maple, burning bush, spicy mums, glamour kale, and red wall creeper.
Waters' red wall creeper is specially selected to dress up those miles of stockade fence.
A mountain vine with rich green foliage turns fire engine red through autumn.
Waters' native vines are and both deer and rabbit proof.
You'll find the showiest vines here at Waters Garden Center.
Google, give me directions to Waters Garden Center.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Top 10 Garden Podcast. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.